Assalamu alaikum students. Today we are going to start a new topic, Old and Middle English. Old English was the language spoken during 5th to mid 12th century. Middle English was spoken during mid 11th to late 15th century. Now we see both languages in detail. Old English was spoken from mid 5th century to mid 12th century. It was a West Germanic language of the 5th century. The origin of the Old English started from Ingvanik, also called Germanic of the North Sea. This language was a grouping of Old Frisian, Old Saxon, and Old English. Later it developed into Anglo-Saxon language, the language spoken by people living in parts of modern England and southeastern lands of Scotland. Anglo-Saxon was developed only after 7th century after Christianization. It was constantly influenced by many languages. History of Old English. It has three subdivisions: prehistoric, early Old English, and late Old English. Development. Old English was influenced by Latin, Norse, and Celtic. Latin influenced it in three periods. Firstly, when the Anglo-Saxons went to Britain. Secondly, when the Latin-speaking priests converted the Anglo-Saxons to Christianity. And lastly, when the Normans conquered England in 1066. The second language influencing Old English was Norse. It began with the Scandinavian words being introduced after the Vikings invaded England in the 9th and 10th centuries. Celtic's major influence was mainly on syntax and not on vocabulary. Dialect. Old English was not a monolithic language. Monolithic means formed of single large block of stone. It had multiple variations in different regions. It had developed from languages and dialects of many different tribes. Each dialect was spoken by independent kingdom. There were four main dialects: Mercian dialect of Mercia, Kentish dialect of Kent, West Saxon and Northumbrian dialect of Northumbria. Morphology. Morphology means a particular shape, form, or structure. It is the study of the inherent structures of words. The term morphology is Greek and is made up of morph, meaning shape, form, and ology means study of something. Morphology of Old English. The morphology included accusative, dative, nominative, and instrumental. Orthography. By orthography, we mean spelling system of a language. At first, Old English was written in runes. then in half until till 9th century, later in insular script till 12th century. Rune is a letter of Germanic alphabet related to Roman alphabet. Middle English. Middle English was spoken during late 11th century to late 15th century. It developed from the late Old English, which was spoken in Norman England. History. Early Middle English developed from late Old English in the second half of 11th century. It was spoken during 12th and 13th centuries. By the second half of 14th century, it became popular as a literary language. Finally, in the 15th century, the late Middle English started transitioning into early modern English. Development of Middle English. Middle English gradually ended the Wessex as the writing language and emerged as the focal language for writers and poets. Many regions had their own dialects and there were variety of dialects writing styles. It became more prominent in the 14th century. In the 12th and 13th century, it was more Anglo-Norman. Dialects. It had many dialects in different regions, but during 15th century, printing began in England and the language started becoming more standardized. Morphology. The language became more like modern West Frisian than the Germanic because of its simplification. Orthography. All the letters were pronounced in the Middle English. There were no silents. But by the Chaucer's time, the final E became silent. Students, you have to note down the lecture. I advise you to read it again once or twice, then write the answers of these questions in your notebook. Question number 1. What is the origin of Old English? Question number 2. What are the subdivisions of Old English? Question number 3. Write a note on the development of Old English. Question number 4. Write a comprehensive note on the history and development of Middle English. Students, you have to write a detailed answer for question number 4. Dear students, you can't have a better tomorrow if you are still thinking about yesterday. That was all for today's lecture. Thank you so much.